Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
Incredible that Kevin, Darren and Jesse did exactly what they were trained to do, and because of that they stayed safe for more than 60 hours.
Relief for the families and colleagues of 3 drillers trapped underground in a BC mine. They've been rescued. Plus,
here one day, gone the next, so it's a tough situation.
people in Maple Ridge wonder what led to the deaths of 3 neighbors.
Yeah, it's really shocking.
And
phenomenal that I'm here.
Unraveling the past by sifting the soil. We'll take you to an archaeological field school in BC for students of all ages.
Come on, show me something.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. It is massive relief for 3 drill operators who spent days trapped in the Red Chris mine in northern BC. They're now safe, rescued late Thursday night and emerging in good spirits after a very delicate operation. The CBC's Lindsay Duncombe is at the mine in northern BC where there is happiness and plenty of questions.
Safe and smiling, the 3 rescued drillers posing here with their bosses are on their way home after 60 hours deep underground. Mine officials say the first thing they said to rescue crews, a joke, that they'd had time to catch up on sleep.
And certainly when the rescue team announced to us, we've got all 3 of them, they're in good spirits. I mean, goosebumps as I say it, happiness, but more happiness for them.
The workers spent 3 nights in a refuge chamber like this one. They had food, water, and appeared healthy when they got to the surface. Driller Jesse Chibati posted online, "Glad to be out of there. To all my mining brothers, stay safe down there." Newmont, which owns the mine in a remote part of northwestern BC, says safety was central to the rescue plan. First, a large scoop like this one, operated by remote control, cleared a path through 30 meters of debris. Then rescuers used a vehicle like this to carefully extract the men.
And one by one, we drove them, one person through and the second person through. And that was the people that went out to them 700 meters further, and then we drove them back to a safe place.
This retired mine rescuer says it looks like crews were prepared.
The miners, they would have practiced this drill. They know where the refuge stations are. They have practiced runs.
The question now? Why were there 2 rock falls in the same area? The drillers were working at the site of a proposed underground copper and gold mine, separate from the open pit operations here. Newmont has promised a full investigation, so has the province.
The ministry and the company will be doing separate investigations into what happened to make sure it doesn't happen again.
The proposed mine is one of the projects the Premier wants to fast-track in light of American tariffs. Mining watchdogs don't want Canada to move quickly on new projects at the expense of safety.
We're already seeing, I think, some very dangerous precedents.
The open pit mining operation here is back up and running, but the underground work has stopped. That's so that the mine and the province can do their investigation and figure out how to proceed safely. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, near Dease Lake.
A clearer picture is emerging of the hours before what police call a neighborhood dispute in Maple Ridge turned deadly. 2 people were killed, and a third is believed to have taken his own life. Yasmin Khanea now with the simmering dispute neighbors say linked them.
Police officers still on the scene Friday morning, a reminder of the violent night that stunned this quiet street.
It's really shocking to see this happening in our neighborhood.
On Wednesday night, shots fired, cars up in flames, and 3 people left dead after what police call a neighborhood dispute.
It's been going on for a number of years.
A couple in their 60s and their dog were killed inside their home, their garage set on fire. The suspect, who lives across the street, later found dead of an apparent suicide. Bruce Fairweather was with the woman killed hours before the attack and says he saw the suspect threaten her.
She said something to him across the street and he commented about breaking her neck.
Police were called to the neighborhood 3 hours before the killings, but officers made no arrests. Then, just before 11 p.m., neighbors saw the cars on fire and rushed to help.
Kind of heroically, there was a number of neighbors went to the front door. The front door had been smashed open, so right away they knew there was something going on.
Yeah, I'm upset. I'm really upset that that happened.
Several residents who spoke to CBC News say the couple and their neighbor had been feuding over issues like street parking, backyard fires, and the couple's dog.
She always had the dog on a long leash, and the dog would go up on his property, and he didn't want anyone or anything on his property.
CBC News isn't identifying those involved pending notification of next of kin. The neighborhood has been left shaken.
They were just a good couple, you know, nice to have as neighbors and very engaging. So to see them both gone now is yeah, it's hard to fathom, really.
Homicide investigators continue to look into the couple's deaths as a community in mourning awaits answers. Yasmin Ghanea, CBC News, Vancouver.
A BC man has now been convicted of manslaughter in the 2017 killing of a young mother of 2 children. Police say Gary Loesch was found not guilty of the original charge of second-degree murder in relation to the death of 22-year-old Chelsea Gauthier. Instead, he was convicted of the lesser charge of manslaughter, along with indignity to human remains. Gauthier had been reported missing to Abbotsford Police in late July 2017. Her body was found near Mission more than 2 weeks later. Investigators say Loesch had offered to pay Gauthier to help with his illegal marijuana grow operation. A man who flew from BC to PEI last summer to sell drugs has now been sentenced to 4.5 years in prison. Nicola McLeod tells us the judge says the young man was acting purely out of greed.
Ryaz Rahim Aziz had just turned 18 when he flew from his home in British Columbia to Prince Edward Island to sell what he says he thought was going to be cannabis. He arrived and he was driving a rental car and staying in an Airbnb rented in someone else's name. But Charlottetown police were watching him and they got a warrant and seized fentanyl, crystal meth, and cocaine from that home.
Aziz says he felt calm while he was selling drugs to people here on PEI, but felt scared and sad once he was caught. Aziz said he thought about backing out from selling hard drugs, but he was working with a new group of people and thought they were dangerous. The Supreme Court judge who sentenced him took issue with his story, noting that he obviously knew the difference between weed and other drugs like opioids, and someone had trusted him with well over $100,000 worth of illegal substances. The justice said the young man wasn't a drug user himself and was motivated solely by greed when selling fentanyl, adding, "There was no mistake or passing error in judgment. He did what he was instructed." Fentanyl has altered the landscape of the substance abuse crisis in Canada, revealing itself as public enemy number 1.
Aziz had already pleaded guilty to trafficking fentanyl back in the spring, but this week Justice Key handed down her sentence of 4.5 years in prison. She spoke for over an hour and a half on how she came to that decision, saying she considered that he was young, pleaded guilty early, and didn't have a criminal record. But she says she also had to consider that fentanyl is lethal, insidious, and takes a tremendous toll on society. Nicola McLeod, CBC News, Charlottetown.
To other news now. You may have seen it or sat in it. Congestion on the Lionsgate Bridge. Every day, about 60,000 cars use that old 3-lane span between downtown Vancouver and the North Shore. The CBC's Michelle Gomez shows us what goes into setting the direction of that ever-changing center lane.
It's just after morning rush hour at the Transportation Management Centre. Here, staff monitor thousands of traffic cameras from across BC. They update the Drive BC website, they change the messaging on electronic traffic signs across the province, and over here, they switch the lanes on the Lionsgate Bridge.
Our biggest goal obviously is safety, and the second to that is obviously keeping traffic moving.
Typically, there are 2 lanes heading southbound into downtown during morning rush hour and 2 lanes heading northbound out of downtown during evening rush hour. But it's not just as simple as that. If you've ever wondered why are there 2 lanes going in the other direction when my direction is clearly busier, well, that's because there are other factors at play. For one, traffic coming off the bridge needs to have somewhere to go. This is particularly a problem heading into downtown.
if we're in a situation where we don't do counterflow for a very long time and traffic is starting to build up, say in Vancouver, we'll look at the camera, say along Georgia and Cordera, and we'll say we need to start flushing this traffic through because otherwise it'll take hours for us to release it.
If southbound traffic slows down too much, it can cause the center lane to clog, which is a big no-no. The center lane must remain fairly clear and free-flowing at all times so cars can merge quickly and safely on short notice when emergency vehicles need to cross the bridge. According to Body, this can happen around 30 times a day.
The reason it's so dynamic is we're constantly managing the traffic back and forth, so it's not getting to that critical place where it just won't work.
So even if it feels like there's more volume heading downtown, operators have to change the center lane every so often so it doesn't get too congested.
Everything we do is with the driver in mind and pedestrians and other people that are using that structure.
Something to think about the next time you're stuck here in traffic. Michelle Gomez, CBC News, Vancouver.
Darius is away, so meteorologist Wesla English is here with a first look at our weather just ahead of a weekend, Wesla.
That's right. Happy Friday, everybody. We are going to see things warm up gradually, but we still have a couple more days of near seasonal and even below seasonal weather. Here's a look at the upper level airflow, and I've highlighted in black the base of the broad upper trough that's over BC right now. And this is why we are seeing seasonal daytime highs near or below seasonal in most areas across our province. However, as we move forward in time, we are going to see warm air pushing in, Dan, and we have heat coming for next week.
All right. Thanks, Wesla. It's the first of its kind for Escatem First Nation in the BC interior, an archaeological field school for students of all ages. More now from the CBC's Shelley Joyce.
Every bit helps to build a picture of the past. No item is too small. That's the main message to students at this innovative field school. This 6-week program is for Indigenous students of all ages, where Escatem has partnered with Thompson Rivers University to make this a reality. A typical day starts here, in the classroom.
But this is the working edge here. Of this tool.
Where students marvel over the discoveries that have been made from the previous day's dig.
May not look like they're important, but they are very significant.
Most of this 6-week program focuses on outside work, where ceremonial smudging, singing, and praying with community elders sets the tone. This location, a former pit house, estimated at being around 5,000 years old, is being unearthed and examined. It's meticulous work, unraveling the past by sifting through the soil.
That was our hot corner over there, but we're curious what's here with these rocks.
These 9 Indigenous students range in age from 40 to 67 years of age. Most were intrigued by the opportunity to gain skills that could lead to further work in the field of archaeology.
It's just phenomenal that I'm here and getting goosebumps talking to you. And I'm telling my kids all about it and they're learning.
Looking for a hearth rock they used to cook inside the pit house.
The bigger enticement for many of the students here was to learn about family history and culture and more about themselves.
I'm going to go back into see how we lived back in the day and how we survived till now.
I wanted to understand a little bit more about where I came from, more about my history, why we're here, our purpose, our meaning.
TRU instructor and archaeologist Beth Bedard says this hands-on experience on a historic site gives students street cred in the field of archaeology.
It's a constant process of learning and keeping up with the research, and it's continual. And experience counts very heavily in that.
And the chance to really get their hands dirty and sift through centuries of history through this pit house has helped to connect learners with their culture.
I get this excited feeling every time I do it. It's just like, come on, show me something. Tell me your story.
Shelley Joyce, CBC News, Escatem First Nation.
what they're running about at Nat Bailey Stadium. That's next. The celebration of light fireworks will hit the sky over English Bay on Saturday night for the third and final installment of the summer. Vancouver police say they expect large crowds, so they're deploying 430 extra officers to handle the hundreds of thousands of people expected to show up in Kitsilano and the West End. They're also reminding people that drinking alcohol is not allowed in English Bay. The reminder comes after last Saturday's fireworks saw a number of altercations afterward, including one teen who was stabbed and killed.
We have had a few incidents. Most of those incidents have involved people who are not getting along, often because they've been drinking and they've overconsumed alcohol. And that's when fights start to happen. And that's when people start to become unruly.
Addison says officers will be there to step in if trouble brews. He also advises people to come early and prepared. The West End will be closed to vehicle traffic from about 7 p.m. on. The same goes for Cornwall Avenue in Kitts. Saturday's competing team will be Nova Scotia. Well, the world's first ever 3-on-3 wheelchair basketball world championship is happening in Sun City, South Africa from August 1st to 3rd. And Pender Island's own Katie Dandeneau is representing Team Canada. She previously represented the country at the 2020 and 2024 Summer Paralympics.
It is really important that all 4 players play a leadership role, especially too, like the person who's on the bench, like they're kind of the coach. You don't have your actual coach on the floor with you, right? So that person on the bench becomes instrumental in helping the team out with what they see, right? So we've been really trying to make it so that all 4 of us have, play a really vital role and are embracing it. And, it's meant that people are going to have to come out of their comfort zone.
Good luck to that team. Still with sports, the Vancouver Canadians are in the middle of a series of home games at old Nat Bailey Stadium. The ballpark has been host to top baseball talent, but there are athletes of a different flavor that have become fan favorites. The CBC's John Aspiri has more on that sushi race.
It's the end of the 4th inning at Nat Bailey Stadium, and the countdown is on. This is the sushi race, which sees people dressed up as sushi and other foodstuffs run around the bases. It's been a staple at C's games since 2008. Moments earlier, competitors prepped for the big race by getting their game faces on. Some wait quietly, while others perform stretches before making their way out to the field. There's a pair of chopsticks named Chop and Sticks, Miss BC Roll, Bad Guy Chef Wasabi, and Sadaharu Soy, a bottle of soy sauce named after Japanese baseball legend Sadaharu Oh. The team's marketing director says the race is good fun, but the racers take it seriously.
Let's just say those who don the costumes of the mascots are pretty competitive folk.
Team officials say it all started in 2008 when the Canadians' new owners wanted to do a local version of the famed sausage race in Milwaukee. Sushi seemed like a natural choice. The sushi race may seem like silliness, but team officials say it's an essential part of their brand. Minor league teams rely on ticket sales rather than broadcast revenue, so the in-person experience at the ballpark is critical. Crowd pleasers like the sushi race are a big part of the minor league experience. There's also the fact that most players on the Canadians are only with the team for a short time, so in many ways, the sushi racers are the face of the franchise. A CBC News request to interview the racers was declined, with a team official saying the sushi racers talk with their feet. The sushi races even survived changes in team ownership. The Canadians were sold to a U.S. private equity group in 2023.
Most of the people who go to Nat Bailey do not know the names of the players. I would even think maybe half the people there are uncertain that they are an affiliate of the Toronto Blue Jays, that these are baby Blue Jays who may make the majors. They're going for an event.
On this day, it was Chop, part of a husband and wife tandem of Chop and Sticks, who came out on top with a dramatic come-from-behind victory.
We don't have a Luongo, we don't have the Sedin twins, we have sushi. One thing I will say is Chef Wasabi, as I mentioned, is probably as big as any fixture in the stadium.
Despite fans' insatiable appetite for the sushi race, the success of the sprint hasn't gone to the racers' large heads. After every dash, they take time to greet fans, and they do it all with a smile on their face. John Aspiri, CBC News, Vancouver.
You're looking at the day that was in White Rock. Some sun peeking out from behind the cloud and shining in that big old rock and the pier. Wesley English will have your BC forecast next. A legendary broadcaster in Canadian and BC multicultural media has announced she is stepping down. Shushma Dutt is a pioneering figure, breaking down barriers for women of color in broadcasting in Canada and England. First for the BBC, and then when she moved here to Canada in the 1970s. Dutt has received the Order of BC and the Queen's Golden Jubilee Medal. And now she's announced she's stepping down from her own station, Spice Radio. She spoke with our Amy Bell earlier on the Coast.
I'm 79 years old, and I've been broadcasting for over 58 years. And I felt that I needed to do something different with my station. Although, you know, letting go of Spice has been, it's been very bittersweet. And today was the first day that the radio station brokered the time from us and started broadcasting pending the CRTC approval of the sale of the license. But it has been something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and that's programming for people in our community that are staying at home or not able to go out. Either they are young mothers or they are older people, and I wanted to do programming for them, catering to their needs. So I needed to put all my efforts into that so that I could make that program successful, like I've been able to do with every other thing that I have started. So let's see if I can do it or not. I think I come from a broadcasting institution that believes in encouraging new talent. And then when you are in the business for quite some time, you sort of are able to see who is going to be, following their dream and who is going to be a good broadcaster or not. So I think I did have that knack, and it's great to see that I wasn't wrong in thinking about those people getting into this business. I wasn't a very good student at school, and we were having a play at Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, and I was born in Kenya, by the way. And Dad's friend was the principal of the school, and he wanted to boost my morale because he knew that I could do things if I was interested in them. So he said, give her a part in the radio play. So they gave me one line, and I messed up the line when we went to the studio, and I was very disappointed. But in the cubicle, the engineer asked me to repeat the line a couple of times, and when it aired, it sort of, I thought to myself, what a magical world. You can make mistakes and erase them. I want to be a part of that.
As we told you yesterday, an Ontario judge has found 5 former members of Canada's junior hockey team not guilty of sexually assaulting a woman in 2018. That ruling was handed down yesterday at a courthouse in London. The CBC's Jamie Strachan looks at the fallout for the former teammates and possible next steps.
With a not guilty verdict secured, lawyers for the 5 players talked about how this case had derailed their careers.
Alex Formanton was barely 18 years old and on the verge of a promising hockey career that came to a screeching halt on June 18, 2018.
The damage to Mr. McLeod's reputation and his career has been significant.
4 of the 5, Dylan Dubé, Cal Foote, Carter Hart, and Michael McLeod, were all playing in the NHL before charges were laid and are now unrestricted NHL free agents. They have no ties to any team. But if a team wanted any of them, could they play? Right now, no. The NHL says the players are ineligible. In a statement, the league said the allegations made in this case, even if not determined to have been criminal, were disturbing and the behavior at issue was unacceptable. The league's collective bargaining agreement gives Commissioner Gary Bettman broad powers to punish players for off-ice conduct, but must tread carefully, this expert says.
There is a sexual culture of hockey. I know it. I have had players disclose the past that they have had within hockey where very bad things have happened. And this will send a message that hockey condones this type of sexual culture.
The Players Association says they should be allowed to play. After missing more than a full season of their respective NHL careers, they should now have the opportunity to return to work.
History has shown that for players who have been charged or even convicted of a criminal offense, if they have ability on the ice, on the field of play, there is a road back.
Many athletes, including stars like Mike Tyson, Kobe Bryant, and Michael Vick, have returned to glory after serious charges or even jail time. That could be the case here, according to this expert.
Inevitably, we see teams make decisions based on skills and less on character and personal attributes.
There's no timeline for the NHL to make its decision, but even if the players are allowed back, it'll be up to individual teams to decide if it's worth it. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
Canada is fighting to stop a voracious invader from the United States. Grass carp are now in the Great Lakes, and biologists say it's only a matter of time before they start breeding near Canadian shores. The CBC's Colin Butler got an exclusive look at the fight to stop them.
That steady beep, it's electricity surging through the Grand River, the largest river in southern Ontario, a weapon in Canada's war on invasive fish.
Our goal is to prevent the establishment of grass carp in Canadian waters.
This Department of Fisheries patrol boat works to maintain the waters. Wires extend underwater to stun fish, then they're scooped up by wading nets. Native fish, like this walleye, are recorded and released. And if crews are lucky, they won't catch anything worse.
We haven't found a grass carp this year with our program, but that's a good sign.
Grass carp, one of 4 invasive Asian carp species, are reproducing in U.S. rivers that flow into Lake Erie.
They're always known as those fish that fly up and hit you in the face, but these ones are grass carp. They're not the ones that jump, so luckily I'll be okay.
But Ontario's waterways might not be. DFO teams haven't caught one here yet this year, but make no mistake, they're out there. 34 have been caught since 2013, 3 of those in this river alone. At full size, they can weigh 40 kilos.
In aquaculture facilities, when there's no vegetation for them to eat, they throw cabbages in, and they eat the cabbages.
This top expert on invasive fish says grass carp would devour the plants native fish depend on for spawning, for shade, and as a nursery for their young.
The establishment of grass carp in the Great Lakes would be catastrophic.
It's why scientists aren't just hunting invaders, they're also documenting native fish. Because once grass carp start breeding here, the ecosystem will be forever altered and not for the better. And that steady beep, it might be the final warning before the carp change everything. Colin Butler, CBC News, Dunnville, Ontario.
Donald Trump admits there might not be a trade deal with Canada. His comments come a week before the U.S. deadline to reach such an agreement. Rafi Boudjikanian looks at where negotiations stand now.
Just a week away from his deadline to reach a deal with Canada, the U.S. president musing Ottawa won't get off scot-free.
August 1st is going to come, and we will have most of our deals finished, if not all. We haven't really had a lot of luck with Canada. I think Canada could be one where they'll just pay tariffs, not really a negotiation.
The U.S. says those tariffs will go from 25% to 35% for goods that are not covered by the existing free trade agreement with Canada and Mexico. After first saying his government would not accept a deal that includes tariffs at all, Prime Minister Mark Carney has changed his tune more recently.
We are looking for the best deal for Canada. We're only going to accept the best deal for Canada.
The government's benchmark for a best deal now is a mystery. Canadian officials were in D.C. just yesterday for negotiations with American counterparts.
These are complex negotiations. The Canadian-American economic and security relationship is unique. There is no comparator with other countries in terms of the way the trading and security relationship between our countries has evolved.
In all kinds of...
Meanwhile, some say moving the goalposts during deal-making is on brand for Trump.
He forced in his first term the renegotiation of the NAFTA. He said it'll be done in 7 to 8 weeks. And it took us 7 rounds, official rounds, and then a couple of unofficial rounds in 17 months before we came to a deal that, in the end, has worked very well for the U.S., and for Canada.
In Scotland this weekend, Trump will meet with European Union officials as well as British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, while Canadian officials say they will go to D.C. again next week, hoping to iron out irritants. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
Now, before he left for Scotland, Donald Trump was asked whether he's considering a pardon for the woman who helped Jeffrey Epstein abuse underage girls. Ghislaine Maxwell is serving 20 years behind bars, but the Trump administration spent the last 2 days meeting with her. As Karen Pauls explains, it prompts the question, why?
U.S. President Donald Trump is facing fresh questions about meetings his officials arranged with Jeffrey Epstein's ex-girlfriend, British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell, who's serving a 20-year sentence for sex trafficking.
Would you consider a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell?
It's something I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about.
The U.S. Deputy Attorney General sat down with Maxwell and her lawyers for 2 days amidst protests and fierce public backlash, including from Trump's base, over the administration's perceived lack of transparency about documents related to Epstein's case. The convicted sex offender died by suicide in 2019.
She has been treated unfairly.
After Friday's meeting, Maxwell's lawyer wouldn't confirm if they're hoping for a deal.
No offers have been made, no.
Trump has tried to distance himself from his former friend. But this week, the New York Times revealed Trump's name appeared on a contributor list for a book celebrating Epstein's 50th birthday, bolstering a Wall Street Journal report detailing the message to Epstein, outlined in the shape of a naked woman with the cryptic birthday wish, "May every day be a wonderful secret."
I don't even know what they're talking about. Now, somebody could have written a letter and used my name, but that's happened a lot.
I think it's very clear that the president does not want this out.
Democrats among those questioning the timing and the substance of those meetings with Maxwell.
She's somebody who has something to gain by possibly protecting the president, by protecting other powerful people in turn, in hopes of maybe getting out.
Questions Trump can't shake, even traveling abroad.
A lot of people are asking me about pardons. Obviously, this is no time to be talking about pardons.
But for Maxwell, this might be exactly the time. She's been subpoenaed by Congress for a deposition scheduled for August 11th. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Toronto.
American federal regulators have cleared the way for a multi-billion-dollar merger between Paramount and Skydance Media. The deal is worth about $11 billion Canadian. It involves some of the most prominent names in entertainment, including Paramount Pictures, CBS, and the Nickelodeon cable channel. Paramount is the parent company of CBS. It recently settled a lawsuit with President Donald Trump for about $22 million Canadian over a CBS 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris last October. Trump alleged it was election and voter interference. The FCC says the agency's review of the proposed merger is unrelated to that. For its part, Skydance assured federal regulators it is committed to unbiased journalism that represents diverse viewpoints. French President Emmanuel Macron says his country will recognize an independent Palestinian state. He says he'll make a formal statement in September. That will make him the first leader of a G7 country to do so. Nala Ayed has more on the move and reaction in Gaza.
In the quest to find food in Gaza, waiting in the heat is just the start. Tekiye, they call it, community kitchens that hand out hot food. A line of last resort against Gaza's hunger. And so Sabrine Jaidi showed up at 6 a.m. We have 20 people in the tent, and the little children are crying for flour, she says. We are begging. We are forced to come to feed our children. When it is a matter of survival, even handouts come with a cost. Israeli and American negotiators withdrew from ceasefire talks Thursday, blaming Hamas for not acting in good faith.
Hamas didn't really want to make a deal. They're going to be hunted down.
Late Thursday, France's president declared plans to recognize a Palestinian state in September, saying there was no alternative to a two-state solution. Israel's prime minister swiftly condemned the plan as rewarding terror. Prime Minister Mark Carney, meanwhile, also on X, wrote, Canada condemns the Israeli government's failure to prevent the humanitarian disaster in Gaza. Canada, he added, supports a two-state solution, but he stopped short of planning to recognize one.
So what is preventing us?
So I am traveling to New York on Monday to have this very conversation with our counterparts.
But there's more that G7 countries, including Canada, could do to end the crisis, says this Canadian former UN Special Rapporteur.
That countries in the global north are going to have to take a significant step forward by looking at sanctions on Israel in order to make any lasting progress on achieving a Palestinian state.
In Gaza, Palestinians welcomed France's announcement as overdue. But this man made his point by asking the children around him, "What do you want, a state or flour right now?" he asked. "They want to eat," he says. "You're talking to me about waiting for France. People are waiting for aid." And people are still waiting for aid. Nala Ayed, CBC News, London.
Also in his statement, Mark Carney called on both sides of the conflict to negotiate in good faith, and he reiterated calls for Hamas militants to release the Israeli hostages that have been held in Gaza since October of 2023. The UN Security Council is holding an emergency meeting late tonight, meanwhile, about the escalating conflict between Cambodia and Thailand. Fighting over a disputed border area has extended into a second day, and now Thailand's leader is warning that situation could develop into a full-blown war. At least 19 people have been killed in Thailand and 1 in Cambodia. Tens of thousands of people have been forced to flee the border region, and both sides have fired small arms, artillery, and rockets, while Thailand has hit Cambodia with airstrikes. It's the worst fighting between those two nations in 13 years. Both sides blame each other for starting the violence on Thursday along a frontier where sovereignty has been disputed for more than a century. In Quebec, people are cleaning up tonight after thunderstorms caused major flooding and power outages. Meanwhile, we'll have your BC weather forecast coming up. A summer storm has caused flooding and widespread power outages across Quebec. Take a look. Several vehicles were underwater and stuck in an underpass in Quebec City. At least one of those drivers had to be rescued from the roof of his car. No injuries have been reported, thankfully. Thousands of people, though, did lose power, mostly in the Uwate region. Meteorologist Wesla English is here with our BC-wide weather forecast. As we head into a weekend, it's a little cloudy here on the south coast. What's it doing where you are?
A little cloudy here behind me in Kelowna as well, but we will all clear up and warm up as we head into next week. Still, we'll stay near seasonal and even below seasonal for tomorrow, but then once we get into Sunday and Monday, we'll see warmer air pushing in. So at the Vancouver International Airport today, got up to 20 degrees. The seasonal average is 23 at this time of year. Here's a look at the satellite and radar. We've had some showers move through parts of the southern and central interior today, including the Thompson region, the Shuswap, and it was wet in Revelstoke. The precipitation forecast over the next couple of days, we will continue to see those spotty showers lingering on Saturday for the inland sections, but also some breaks in the clouds with sun in parts of the interior. Now, for the coastal areas, you will see that clearing earlier. Vancouver, you'll see clearing by midday tomorrow with a mix of sun and cloud in the afternoon. Here are the overnight lows you can expect tonight across BC, 11 degrees in Terrace, 12 degrees in Cranbrook. Tomorrow for the North Coast. The North Coast also will see clearing tomorrow, 17 degrees in Prince Rupert. It's the inland sections of the North Coast, Smithers, where you will see that slight chance of an afternoon shower with the risk of thunder showers, highs of 24 degrees there. And same with the central interior and the southern interior. As mentioned, we will continue to see a bit of an unsettled weather pattern for Saturday with the risk of afternoon thunder showers for many parts of the BC interior tomorrow. But we do have a ridge that's going to push in for next week. It's peach picking season here. I actually took this photo just a couple of days ago at Painter's Fruit Market in West Kelowna. And, well, if you are looking for something to do this weekend and you're in the Okanagan area, there are peaches in season, also apricots, but you can see it's pretty good fruit picking weather. Saturday and Sunday, highs in the mid to upper 20s, and then much warmer for next week. And that's really the same case for the lower mainland as well. We will see temperatures as high as 25 to 29 degrees by the middle of next week. Until then, this weekend is a bit of we'll see that gradual warm up this weekend, 22 degrees for a high for Saturday and Sunday, Dan. But then next week, as you can see, when that ridge pushes in, we will see that warm air push up from the south, and we'll get back above seasonal once again for next week.
So you're making us hungry with all the stone fruit talk, Wesla. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Broadcasting legend and veteran George Stroumboulopoulos is up next to talk about the importance of Canadian film and TV. You'll want to hear this. Stick around. Here's a question for you. What is Canadian culture? Well, longtime broadcaster and former CBC host George Stroumboulopoulos is going on a cross-country road trip to find out. It's part of his new project, The Stories That Made Us. Here he is with Stephen Quinn on the Early Edition.
Your project is all about celebrating Canadian media and television and film. Where are we in Canadian television and film right now, do you think?
I think we make incredible stuff. And what's interesting about getting together on this project and really planning a cross-country trip, hitting the coast to coast to coast on this, is just to remind everybody of how much we've always done this.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back and watch some of the old shows in the 70s like this, or watch, we always talk about beachcombers in Canada for a certain era.
Sure.
But when you go back and watch those episodes, they're very interesting. They're very weird. It's a weird country. And you can usually tell how strange a country is in the way they tell their stories and how they allow stories to be told. So I think this is a big part of this is just connecting with Canadians and having them have a home to talk about what influenced them, what helped them find maybe their own identity, understand somebody else's, maybe help them. I posted this on Instagram the other day to help you live more authentically, to see yourself. That's important for a lot of people. So Canada's done a really good job of being different. We live in this weird streamer world now where the stuff that was big here 15 years ago is finding new life around the world on streamers. So that's been great. But what does it mean for the actual Canadian stories we tell? We don't know. I think we're still looking at the tree and haven't quite seen the forest. But it's good to look back at all these shows. Do you know what it's like to try to tell somebody not from here what Hammy Hamster was? You know, and then when you show them footage on YouTube and they look at it, that weird shot on DVD or like home DV cam, and somebody's narrating a GP, just a guinea pig walking. We're a crazy group of people, and I think we're an experiment that works sometimes.
Yeah,
and I love seeing it reflected back in the different eras of storytelling.
I know. It's like Littlest Hobo. It's like, what, Timmy? Down the old mine shaft? Broken femur?
So
what?
I'm working with an amazing team on this Wallop film in Vancouver, and Alex Craig is directing it, and he's from Scotland. And so he's been in Canada for a bunch of years now, but he talked about how the Littlest Hobo was so big in Europe, so big in Scotland and in England, and that they play the Littlest Hobo theme in pubs. They play it in pubs and people sing along. And I think sometimes Canadians, because we are just overwhelmed by the madness south of the border, and we have our own madness here, it's easy to forget just how cool the storytelling has been.
I get stuck in the comedy tradition of Canada when it comes to both film and television because, the greats who came out of SCTV, the comedy that came out of Kids in the Hall, Baroness von Sketch. I mean, there is no better than that, I think, when it comes to that sort of sketch comedy stuff. And Canadians, of course, famous all through the United States for being the writers of the best sketch comedy.
I think you have to really understand the mix of comedy and tragedy to get the comedy to really work. And we do a great job of that here.
Well, and we're also, what we're seeing and what people are writing and what we're deciding to present is very different than it used to be because we have decided that there's a lot more to this country than the centers of Vancouver and Toronto and Montreal, and that, getting to all three coasts is important.
So important. I think on this first round, we're going to hit about 7 provinces in a territory. We can't hit every single one, obviously, but we are going to, over time, lock in as many stories. I think it is important. And I think, look, man, you know this. We're in the media. There are a lot of reasons to not like what people in the media do. And it really is easy to talk about contentious issues all the time because it sparks engagement. But there are areas where we have, unity. Yeah. And I had a friend of mine, a country singer in Alberta, text me yesterday. He saw the post, and he tried to tell me that we don't have a Canadian identity anymore, except for hockey and music. And I wrote back, don't agree. I don't agree. Maybe we'll end up on his farm, and we'll go riding horses and talk about that. And I do think that we have an identity. And what's interesting about our identity is it doesn't have to be one thing. And we have this version of the Canadian mindset that thinks, well, it's got to be defined this. It doesn't. It never has. And I think exploring our own history, the good stuff and the bad stuff, is important. If you're strong and believe in your country and you believe in what your country could be, then it should be able to withstand some reflection.
And thank you for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6. You can watch this newscast on CBC Gem, our free app, as well as on YouTube and, of course, our website, cbc.ca/BC. We will have your next local news at 11 o'clock, right after the National. Good night. Enjoy your weekend.